Everybody, and welcome to Healthy Living with Marilyn. I hope everybody's had a great week. I have been working really diligently on getting ready for the show tonight. I managed to decompress this afternoon, and I managed to take some time for myself and do my own makeup and my own hair, which is really a feat for me. It is. And I just want to welcome everybody to the show, and I want to welcome and introduce my co-host, Josi Hopkins. And how are you today, Josi?
I am awesome, doing really good. Glad that it's Thursday. Glad to be with Marilyn again.
Boy, I'm glad it's Thursday because tomorrow's Friday. You know, it's not my Friday tomorrow, but tomorrow's my Friday.
Every Friday's
my Friday.
That's
my
right.
Friday.
Claim
That's
it.
right. That's
Claim
right.
it.
And we have a wonderful guest. Her name is Pamela Biasca Losada, and she is a coach, and I want to welcome you, Pamela, to Healthy Living with Marilyn.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. It's first time in front of a camera, so it's exciting.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Well,
so much.
It's really good of you to have accepted my invitation and to step out, since this is the first time you've been in front of a camera.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Pleasure.
It's awesome because when you're doing something that's uncomfortable, you can succeed.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought it up because this is the biggest key to change is really being in this uncomfortable place. So,
right.
Yes.
Right. When I was first talking about doing a TV show, and I wrote this in a chapter in a book that I sent off to a colleague of mine called Go For It, and I'm going to be an author in her book. And one of the reasons what really gave me courage is a friend of mine, Yamaja Jubilee, and you know Yamaja, she came over to my house one night to get some aromatherapy. She came over to get some Thieves essential oil. And it was late at night, it was dark, and it was like in January, and I was just talking to her about doing a show, just talking to her about it. And she's such a wonderful friend of mine. We have a really healthy, beautiful relationship. And I had been on her show a couple years ago, and that was like the first time I'd been on TV, and we did it down on the boulevard at Comcast. And I said to her, Yamaja, I'm thinking about doing a TV show. I would like for you to be on my show. And she was on my show a couple weeks ago. And we talked a little bit, and I looked at her and said, I'm finally stepping out of my box. She looked me straight in the eye and she said, Marilyn, there is no box. And that's when I flew. Knowing that there's no box and you don't have to confine yourself and you can just keep moving and staying motivated, you've got, just grab the brass ring and go.
Yes.
And that's what I did. And when I asked Josi to be my co-host, you didn't even hesitate.
No. I know that I love our relationship. I was just getting to know you. And you just asked me how long I've known Marilyn. It's not a year yet.
No.
But, when you connect with people, you feel a bond. And I wanted to have this experience with you. So it's what I love. I love to talk.
Yes.
When I was growing up, they always told me I had the gift of gab.
I think Jacob has the gift of gab, too. And I know where he gets it from.
Yeah.
My daughter and me, he talks all the time, and they tell my daughter at preschool that he talks more than the other kids at school.
Yeah. My teachers always said that. They would tell my mom that I was an excellent student, but I wouldn't be quiet. When my work was done, I'd walk around the room and tell everybody else what they were supposed to do. So, I know my niche, and it was an opportunity for me to kind of get back to what I was doing, because for years I had a blog talk radio show, Josi's Inspiration. So I'm going back to that. So this was just getting back in gear.
Right, and I had been on sabbatical for 2.5 years. I closed my office in September, I think, of 2014 after my grandson Jacob was born, and offered my services to watch him so my daughter could go back to work, because my daughter she works in corporate and she loves corporate. She loves working, she loves corporate. And I said, okay, we'll watch Jacob, and I'm working on my book, and I'm almost done with the edits, called Nurturing the Caregiver's Soul, so I'll be sending that off soon to the publisher. And playing Legos with him all the time, or reading, and now he's reading the books with me because he's memorized the words.
Yes.
And it's so much fun. And I remember my daughter, when she was Jacob's age, and she would come downstairs with a book and say, "Mommy, read to me, read to me." And it's the same thing. It's deja vu, and
it's so much joy, though.
it is. It gives me so much joy to just be able to be with Jacob. And I have 3 grandchildren. Jacob's my oldest, and then my youngest daughter, Christina, has Isaac, who is just a little over a year old. And then I have little Sammy, who just turned 7 months old, and he's everywhere.
Those are the fun years.
Yeah.
Well, when I would put Jacob down to sit, he wouldn't go anywhere. I put Sammy down, he's everywhere. Because I think he's trying to keep up with his brother. And I can't contain him. You know, with Jacob, when they started sitting up, I could just put him down and he wouldn't move. But Sammy, you put him down and he's just off again.
There's
Just
always
totally
one.
off.
Yeah.
You can't, I know, and you can't turn your head because he'll be 20 feet someplace else.
Exploring.
Exploring, yeah, and I think it's just because he's trying to keep up with his brother.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And then they have their own personalities. I mean, I
Oh
look at
my
my 3,
goodness.
and they're as unique as the sun shining. And, you know, to have to balance between them, it's a lot of fun. It keeps you young, keeps you energized. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's been 13 years now, because my oldest grand is 13. So it's been 13 years that I've shifted to make that my priority. So it was time to get back to me.
Well, that's what happened to me. I was perfectly happy playing puzzles and Legos and, you know, just doing the kid thing and going outside on the swings. And yesterday, he brought some chalk over at Easter time, and we finally went outside yesterday, and we were
Yeah.
coloring out on the side, you know, out on the blacktop. Well, that was a lot of fun.
Sidewalk
Yeah,
Rembrandt.
that's awesome.
Yeah, but let me tell you, that sidewalk Rembrandt, I've got to get back in shape, and that is on my bucket list for tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I was so sore out there. It's like I said to him, Grandma has to go in. I'm too achy. I'm using muscles that I haven't used for a long time, which is good. But then my body starts creaking, which is bad. You know. So, but that's one of the reasons why I got back into the game. And there were a lot of people that were asking me, are you ever going to open up an office? Are you going to get back in the game? What's going on? I had people at the health food stores, because I've given talks at the health food stores and classes. And I would say, I don't know. I don't have a clue.
But the
when I'm
time is
going
right.
back. But now the time is right. And I'm making time for myself. I'm making more time for my colleagues and my friends, because it's so important to have healthy relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
And relationships are something you have to work at. And I'm not talking about any natural supplements or anything like that, because it is so vitally important to nurture your healthy relationships. They're not handed to you. You have to
Exactly.
work at them.
Yeah.
You know, I've been married to Zen for 10 years, and we work at it. We
Yeah.
talk, I try every night to have dinner with him. Sometimes, occasionally, I'm not there for dinner. But it's finding the balance between working, taking care of the kids, and being with my husband.
Yeah.
And don't forget yourself. I mean, all
Exactly.
relationships start with how we treat ourselves, because we set the example for everyone else. And so, you know, it starts there. I'm coming up on my 39th anniversary this year. So, you know, that's a relationship building and growing, and it's always new because I always believe every day there's something new about me I have to learn, something new about him, so it shouldn't get dull.
No, it shouldn't. And you know, one thing I do every morning when I get up, and this morning I ran out of sleep.
You ran out of sleep?
I ran out of sleep, and I ran out of sleep this past weekend. I run out of sleep. I went to bed so early this past weekend. I said to my husband one night, I went to bed at 8:30. Yeah. I said, I can't do life. I can't do anything. I'm sitting here in the chair falling asleep. It's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
And when I go to bed that early, I'm up at 6 o'clock, and I don't have to get up. I don't have to get up. And so I get up and I make use of the time. And that's me time, because he's good at sleeping in. You know, he can go to bed anytime and sleep in. He says it's his good Army training. So I wish I had some of that Army training at one time. But so I ran out of sleep, and I ran out of sleep this morning. And so I decided that I would get up and make good use of my time. And one of the things I do every morning when I go in the bathroom is I hug myself and say how much I love me.
Very good.
Because you really have to love yourself. That's where your healthy relationships start, is loving yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Right?
very true.
It's so true. It's so true. You probably know in your coaching experience,
Yeah.
some people that probably walk into your office, they don't love themselves.
Actually, most of them. I would
Most
say
of
most
them?
of them. Yeah, that's exactly what the main issue is. Ultimately, yeah. And I think it's so important, because as we were talking now, it's like one of the things that we are not really taking into account or even thinking about, and we're just focusing on the others, you know, more. And so it's just how we love ourselves, or if we even do, it's not even a question we pose ourselves. So
Yeah, I mean, it's so important to love yourself. Being a caregiver, that's why I wrote this book, Nurturing the Caregiver's Soul. And the reason why I wrote it is because when I was taking care of my dad, my health went down the tubes. I mean, I'm an emotional eater. So I was eating, I was gaining weight, I wasn't getting enough sleep, I wasn't taking care of myself. And so I wrote this book, and I asked other people who were caregivers their tips and strategies and hints, because it's so vitally important for the caregiver to care for themselves. You must care for yourself. You must put your health and your self-esteem and your mind and your love for yourself, you got to put it first.
Yes.
You got to put it first. You know, I mean, if you put God first or the universe, but put yourself first. It's so important, you know, and appreciate yourself. I appreciate you enormously.
Oh, thank
and
you.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate the people that are behind the scenes here.
Yes.
My husband, Xenophon Scott, who's doing the audio, and Michael A. Hall, who is our video guy, and my wonderful administrative assistant who hangs tough with me every week, Shaunice Grier. And I don't know what I would do without them, and I so appreciate their time, their effort, and their energy in helping get Healthy Living with Marilyn on the air.
And they do a great job.
And they do a great job. And I am so grateful for them. And I'm so grateful for you. And I'm grateful for Pamela. And it's just...
It's mutual.
yeah, exactly.
Absolutely mutual.
And I appreciate that. I really do, because I appreciate a lot of people that I come in contact with. But then there's some people you come in contact with that it just does not work. You know, they're very negative energy. And what I try to do every day, I try to touch the heart and life of one person every day. And I normally do that, and learn something every day, because education is something nobody can ever take from you.
True.
Once you have it, you have it. So,
And you just build on it.
You
just
build
keep
on it.
It's never an ending story. You
Right.
just keep educating and learning through the experiences, and you know, positive or negative, whatever they might be, but it's an ongoing process.
It is.
You get hungry for it too.
Yeah.
yes.
Because it's like once you're learning something, it's like you're
You wanna learn
craving
more.
Yeah.
You want to learn more. You just want to learn more. Years ago, when I first married my husband, a couple years after we got married, knitting is my addiction. I love to knit. Love to knit. and I opened a yarn shop in my house because I taught knitting downtown and where we lived, and I decided to open a yarn shop. And I had that open for about 5 years, and my kids said, Mom, you've got to go back to school. It's like, what are you talking about? You have to go back and get relicensed, recertified. You need to get back in the healthcare field. People need you. Like, okay. So I did. I went back and I took class after class after class, and got certified, got relicensed, and got more diplomas now than I know what to do with. But it was the education, and it was so exciting. It brought the youth back in me again. You know, when you're doing something new, it makes you feel younger.
Because your brain wakes up.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to keep your brain alive.
Oh
so
yeah, because
it's a stimulus.
If you don't lose it, you'll lose it. You don't want to lose it. So I find that so important to keep your entire body. Make sure you go out and exercise. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow.
What are you going to do?
What am I going to do? I'm going to take the baby, and we are going for a walk because I don't have to pick Jacob up until 12 o'clock. So I am going to go for a walk with him. And a couple days ago at the grocery store, Jacob wanted to get in one of those cars with the grocery cart in the back, and I was pushing it that day.
That
was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Normally my husband does it, but Jacob wanted me to do it that day. That's pushing. That is hard work.
I used to push all 3.
It was a total workout. It's like, okay, I definitely.
And especially once you get more groceries in there. I used to have the 3 kids in there and the groceries.
Thank goodness we didn't get a whole lot of groceries that day because we didn't need a whole lot of groceries. But I thought, okay, Marilyn, you got some calorie credits today. That's awesome. You know, and so I'm doing for me tomorrow.
Okay.
And Sammy now, he weighs 18 pounds. The kid is really, really big for 7 months old. He's going to be bigger than Isaac and Jacob. I'm telling you. He only weighs, my youngest daughter said he weighs 1 more pound than Isaac, her son. And her son's over a year old. It's like, okay.
Yeah. He's catching up fast.
He's catching up.
He's going to pass him.
But you know, because he's so active, he might not even have a weight problem. He might just be solid like he is now.
Right.
But picking him up, I got to push with my legs because he's a heavy one. He's a heavy one. So when you're nurturing your relationships with people, it's good to send them a text or send them a card. Or I'm one that likes to talk on the phone.
Yeah, me too. I like
to talk on the phone. I like the personal touch. You can't feel somebody's relation. You can't feel their energy when you're texting or emailing or anything like that. So I really like to talk to people on the phone.
You can hear the emotion. I mean, when you're texting and emailing, so much is left unfelt, and sometimes there's a lot of miscommunication because you're thinking one thing and saying something different, and then people may misinterpret it because they don't feel the emotion that you have, and they may sense criticism, and it's all in how it's being received. Because if they're in a bad place and they get a text, they can turn a good text into negativity.
That's right. That's
so
right.
True, yeah.
And that's why I say engage in acts of kindness.
Yeah.
Because when you engage in acts of kindness, people appreciate that. They appreciate you. Yamaja, I sent her a text this morning, you know, just telling her that I was thinking about her because she is my creative consultant too. And just thinking about her and telling her I was, you know, she was on my mind, and she texts me back. She says, I'm in Myrtle Beach. It's like, oh my goodness, how wonderful. Enjoy the sun and sand. Have a great time. Have a great time. I'm just so happy for her. My friend Judy and I, we went to the beach on Sunday.
Oh, we
went to Virginia Beach for the day. It was so much fun.
It was a beautiful day.
Oh, it was a gorgeous day. And I'm not one for sitting outside and eating my lunch, but there was this really nice breeze. Really nice breeze. And it was just enough where it wasn't blowing my food around or my napkin or anything like that. And we had a blast. And we're just sitting there watching the people, but it was funny. There were these 2 women that were coming up off the beach, and they were as red as tomatoes. and they were going to feel worse later on.
Yeah.
They were as red as your lipstick, I'm telling you.
Oops.
And,
Burnt.
and so Judy pulls her blouse up because she's fairer than I am, and she's going, oh my God, Marilyn, I don't want to go on the beach. I don't want to go. And it's like, we're only going to be there 10 minutes, 10 minutes tops. And she had a good time putting her feet in the water, and she got her water up to her knees, but I'm not that brave. So I got my toes in, and
It's
that
probably
was about
still
it.
pretty cold, isn't it?
It was cold, but because the sand was so hot, we were
Okay.
walking barefoot at first. Like, no, I'm putting my flip-flops back on. It's too hot. The sand is too hot. But then when we got further down towards the water, the sand felt better, and it was cold, but it was nice. It was a nice cold. You know, there were a lot of people on the beach too.
And I can't wait to get there this summer.
Oh, my husband and I are going in June.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where I go. That is my go-to place, the beach. The beach. So, but I want to welcome my guest, Pamela, and thank you so much for coming and being here. I mean, it's wonderful, and I really appreciate you being here.
Thank
So,
you for
Pamela,
having
tell
me.
us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm originally, as you probably can hear, here in the room, and also the audience at home or wherever you are. I have a slightly different accent, so I'm originally from Europe, from Switzerland, and I moved away from there about a little over 10 years ago now, and I have been living in different areas since then, but I moved to Virginia about 2.5 years ago, and so it's been just an exciting last 10 years, a lot of new places, meeting great people, great like-minded people as well when it comes to my profession and my passion. And so it's been really exciting. I mean, it's really been a great transformation personally in my health as well, and with the moves and meeting all these great people. It's been just a great fun 10 years. A lot of getting outside of the comfort zones.
Like you are tonight?
Yeah, like I'm tonight, big time. So this is, so it's like, well, it's fun though. You make it really nice and
Thank
easy
you.
and very welcoming and homey and comfortable, enjoyable. So I'm actually very excited to be here. And and just along the way in the last 10 years, I just got more and more into taking care of myself, because that was one of the pieces I was not doing very often. On the surface, it seems kind of fine, but I ended up taking care more of others throughout my teens, 20s, put my needs always last, and actually not even considering my real needs at all, like not even building any awareness around it. And so when I had a kind of a serious illness, that kind of was a little big wake-up call, and that kind of turned around my whole purpose, my whole vision of self-care, how much it's important to help others, but you have to help yourself first if you want to serve in a good way and help others transform and have a healthy, happy life. And I think that for me was just such a one of those blessings in disguise at the time, that I obviously know now, because at the time it was more scary than a blessing.
Right.
And since then it's been a wonderful journey personally, and then obviously also sharing my experience with others in my coaching practice, where there's a lot of the things we have talked about before. It's like people don't love themselves enough, they don't know what to do, they don't know what it means. They have all these resistances and excuses and stories to why they're not doing anything for themselves, or just very little. And eventually, they're most people I meet and see, there's a lot of stressed people around there. They're spinning the wheels, being on the kind of this crazy autopilot train, just going, never really stopping and just take up even just a breath.
Smell the roses.
Smell the roses. Just little things here and there throughout the day to remind how loved you are, how you're loving yourself, and do things that are filling your, kind of nurturing you, filling your heart, nurturing you, and so it's been a really a journey for me personally, but also I'm so honored and blessed to be part of my clients' journey as far as helping them transform and really living according to their desires by really helping them narrow and getting to the root cause of their issues and helping them through the emotions often and the negative one, break through those blocks and stuff that's in the way, or they tell themselves, which often are stories. That's not the real deal to why things are not happening. And I've been gone through that process, and it's fascinating. It's just the best time and money investment I've done for myself to go through this process of getting really, really into the root causes and how to use all this, or you say sometimes the self-talk or the negative emotions, really your allies to break through those things and any challenge, and it's viewed and seen in a completely different way. And usually you can transform it in a way that is not impacting you and your self-care.
Right.
So it's been really great. I mean, I'm loving it.
That's great.
Because
our brains, what we tell, what we think about, what we're taught, what we do the self-talk, it can be very detrimental to us. And my goal during the day is no pity parties. I'm done with pity parties. I went through a dark time years ago. I think everybody goes through a dark time in their life, maybe a couple times. But it was time for me to pick myself up, basically dust myself off and start all over again. And that's what I suggest for people to do. And you've got to bring yourself up from the bootstraps, because it has to come from within. Because as a coach, you could probably tell them a lot of things, but they have to comply and at least try them. Yeah.
And the main thing is like, a lot of people have this idea of, well, to stay healthy, you have to exercise and eat healthy, which is all great and good, but that's not it. That's not the only thing. That's just a little component here and there. But there's so much more behind the scenes to look at and to how to stick with those healthy routines, whatever they may be for this person. And so there's sometimes you feel like we're just touching the surface. That's why people don't get, a lot of people, not all of people, but a lot of people don't get the long-term results, or they fall back where they started, or fall off the wagon here and there as soon as they're more busy, which is one of the excuses. And a lot of people might think, well, no, I'm really busy. I'm like, well, but it's not really the real why. Exactly.
We're all busy. We all have the same 24 hours.
Yes.
Everybody has the same 24 hours. What are you going to do with yours?
Exactly. So where do you put the priorities and what you need to do that fills your heart, your nurturing, and your body in the right way, and whatever that might look like is just make it happen. And it's really ultimately it depends on us if we want to make the change or not. We can choose to stay stuck in the what you mentioned, there isn't a box, but some people put themselves in the box and they create all those limitations. Or you can just take away all those sides of the box and just get out of the box.
I think a lot of people look to the exterior because their self-opinion is so based on what they view other people think of them. And so changes they make often have to do with, if I do this, then they will appreciate me, they will love me. And so that self-relationship, it's what do I love about myself? And if they love themselves sufficiently, then what other people think is really kind of irrelevant.
It doesn't matter.
What people think of me is really none of my business.
Nope. And a lot of, if they don't like me, it's not my problem.
And it's not defining who we really are.
Because otherwise we constantly change over and over again because we are never happy or content with ourselves.
And a lot of it is if you're around people that are constantly criticizing you. When I was growing up, my dad, God bless him, he's been gone since '09. But he constantly criticized me. And when you're in a relationship like that, no matter if it's your spouse, your mom, your sister, whatever, it can be very detrimental. And it took me a long time to get out of that self-criticism, self-hate, nobody liked me, everybody hates me, guess I'll go and eat some worms attitude. You remember that song. And So it's taken a while. It's taken a lot of self-care and self-therapy and talking to very close friends and journaling. Journaling has really helped me enormously. So,
So Pamela, how do people find you?
Yes, so the best way, I maybe put this up because
Yeah, if you can
best way
zoom in
via
on this,
the
Michael.
website, which is PamelaBiascaLosada.com. I'm gonna hold this since my two last names are a little tricky. Or
it's basically spelled like it sounds.
yeah, so PamelaBiascaLosada.com, and also via phone at 804-313-9007. That's my work office number. That's the best way to reach me.
And what
contact
advice
me.
can you give some of our viewers?
Well, I think we have touched some of the basics, like talking before. I think the main thing is really to put self-care at the priority of the agenda, and no matter what life throws at you, self-care might look differently every day, but the fact that it needs to be just put there, it should be a part of the healthy routines of every day. Sometimes might be longer or shorter. It's not really about the time, how long. Some people have a specific idea, I have to do this for an hour, for example, and not many have an hour these days, and so it's just breaking it up as much as, as little segment of time, whatever that is. It's really not the time that matters, it's what you do and just taking a little bit on a daily basis. So I think that would be the best there's a lot of others advices, obviously, but this is really what it all comes back to. It's the self-care piece, to put it back on the priority list.
Yeah, do for yourself.
Yeah.
Do for you. A lot of times, if I get a chance, I like to go to the bookstore and graze. Just look at books.
Yeah.
I just like to sit there. That's where Shaunice and I normally meet, is at the bookstore down on Libby, and sometimes I just like to sit there and just graze at different books and just not open them, just look at the covers.
Yeah.
It's inspirational.
It is. It's very inspirational. And a lot of times when Shaunice and I meet down there, we'll do a little Facebook Live video to let people know what we're doing and what's going on with Healthy Living with Marilyn. And we've come in contact with some other people down there to say, what are you doing? And it's fun to meet other people.
Yes, for
and to get the word out and to tell them that you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because healthy living is so important with how you treat yourself, with how you eat.
Yeah.
For 2.5 years after my son went to LA, I went on the seafood and eat it plan. And it wasn't eating seafood, it was anything I saw I ate. And I gained some weight. Now I've got to take it off, but I know it took me a couple years to put it back on. So
it's going to take some time.
It's going to take time, and I don't want to start looking like a prune Danish, so I have to be careful, have to be mindful about it. I want to take some yoga classes because I think stretching is so important. Maybe it'll make me look taller. I don't know. Who knows,
That's true. You may feel taller.
I
You
may
not look
feel
taller, but
taller.
you'll definitely feel taller.
Yeah,
I may feel- right?
that's great. That's a great outcome. Yeah.
So I'm going to do that with my friend Judy because we're working on our retreat. And that's going to be in October, and there'll be more information about that. It's going to be up at the Hyatt Place at Short Pump, and the reason why we decided to have it there is because it's a very nice facility. And then there's a lot of restaurants up there.
It's
There's an oodles amount of retail therapy. Some people need retail therapy. Some people need to go shopping. I'm lucky that I don't get a chance to go out during the day, so most of the time my retail therapy isn't there, thank goodness.
But you're knitting now, right?
I'm knitting, and I have probably enough yarn to open up another yarn shop, but I don't want to do that. I love to knit. I love to knit. I can knit for hours. When I had my yarn shop, I would knit sometimes 18 hours a day.
Wow.
And take a couple breaks, and this would be a fist the next
I was
morning.
going to say, luckily you don't have carpal tunnel or something.
Yeah, well, this would be a fist in the morning, and my husband would say, you can't be knitting that long. But it's an addiction, and when you're teaching it, and when you have customers come in, all you're doing is knitting. And you try different things, and I love to go to knitting conventions and stuff, but I haven't had a chance to go.
I've never heard of a knitting convention.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, they have them all over the United States.
What? Okay.
Yes.
Huh.
We'll have to talk about that sometime.
Okay.
Yeah. They're like 4 days.
I'll have to break my knitting needles back out.
You will. They're like 4 days, and they have vendors there, and it's like eye candy galore.
That's how it is when I go into a fabric store.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I get lost.
Yeah, so knitting is how I unwind. It really is. I love to
I have
knit.
another question for Pamela.
Yeah.
So when a person comes to you for a coaching session, how do you determine how much time is needed? Because sometimes people think they need coaching, sometimes they need therapy, but how do you determine how much time is really needed
for that person?
Yeah.
So it's actually a pretty simple answer. I don't have, I customize what I put in the programs, but the length of time is pretty similar for everybody. So which is about 6 months. And then some might extend depending, but most are finished up after 6 months.
So is it monthly, weekly?
It's weekly, it's weekly for 3 times a month. So then there is a 4th and 5th week, depending on the month. That's more integration week.
Okay.
But there is email support in between those sessions, but it's 3 sessions a month.
Do you have group people that come in and, form a group?
Well, that's a great question, timely question. I do mostly private coaching, but I actually have a group that I might start because I have already a few ladies that are already doing a lot of those things health related together. They're really starting kind of from scratch and get their health back together. And so they're already doing some things together. So I thought that would be a good fit for them to stay together and just focus on other more deeper things that are, the idea for them to be more successful in what you already have started and adding all the other missing pieces and eventually leaving it open to a few more people. So I just want to keep it more intimate as a group, not having tons of people. I might have to break and do multiple groups if there is more.
So you would be the
interested.
facilitator for that.
Yes.
And what's the criteria for someone to receive coaching?
The main thing comes for me to make the decision is really after the conversation. So there is a specific kind of initial conversation I do. The first one is 20 minutes over the phone, complimentary, to really get a sense what's going on for them, like what's maybe been in the way so far, how urgent it is for them to really make those changes, or like they really want to change, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where they place themselves. And then depending on how that goes, I either suggest maybe they should do different, another thing, go to share another resource if I feel like it's not really what I provide and I cannot really help them. But if I think I can help them, I will invite them for a second full consultation. And from there, we kind of identify what's really going on. But the main thing is that there needs to be more emotional blocks, more something that's in the way for me to feel like, you really can benefit from what I provide and be the guide to move through those blocks. So it's all depending on those conversations. So it's not that I'm checking boxes with criteria and points. It's more an overall sense how deep-rooted the issue is, and if it's maybe they need just simple things that are more tangible that somebody else could be doing, or if they need more the deeper work. Yeah.
Awesome.
That is really, really good. I know that you're helping a lot of people, and you're very giving. I mean, it's giving of your time, and you're listening, and when people come in, I mean, basically they're dumping on you, and for you to sort that out you know, to be able to sort that out and say, well, this is this and this is might help you better, you know, to give them tips and strategies and hints. That's amazing. That really is.
It's a very transformational experience, and as I said before, it's really a blessing for me to be part of their journey, because it's just amazing, you know, when the light bulbs, you know, turns on, those breakthroughs. It's just fascinating, and you know, in all this, you know, I get all these thank yous, and you know, it's just great, because I'm fortunate to be part of their journey and transform them and be, you know, kind of guide them to those changes and those, you know, changing the quality of lives, and that's very, you know, I feel like really fortunate to be able to do that as my work and passion. So it doesn't really feel like working.
Right, because you're following your passion.
Yes, but you put really your heart and soul in this. It's really like when I start with a client, it's like I'm all in. It is not just, you know, it's like you are all in.
Right.
I mean, it's
Marilyn, have her show her site again.
Oh yeah, show your site again. Michael, can you?
Just in case there's some people who missed it earlier.
If you've just tuned in to Healthy Living with Marilyn, Pamela's site is www.pamelabiascalosada.com. Did pretty good, huh?
Yeah, you did pretty good. Yeah, perfect pronunciation.
So get in touch with her. Look at her website. I've looked at her website. It's really a nice looking website. You also help with people who are having weight issues.
Yes, the weight issue is usually one of, not always, but sometimes it's part of one of the goals that they have. They want to lose some weight. Again, my approach is why the weight came on in the first place, what's behind the scenes. More sometimes there is emotional eating involved, so then that would be also what we are looking more deeply to, you know, what alternatives there are, you know, instead of suppressing your feelings with food and putting them down. And it's a little deeper, longer work, but the weight often is part of it. It's not like, I don't consider myself like a weight loss coach, but you know, when you do all these other things
it's the emotional
and changing
connection.
the weight will, you know, also you notice the difference with your weight as well. And the idea is not to do any, like, I'm not doing any diets or like crash diets and things like that.
No, because I found from experience, diets don't work. Because once you get off the diet,
you still got the problem.
You put the weight back on. I'm great at taking it off. I'm not good at maintaining
keeping it
and
off.
That's my goal. That's on my bucket list. I'm gonna do it, and I will be posting this weekly now. I'm putting myself out there.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
I'm gonna talk about it. Well, I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm
going to follow you.
Well, good. I'm glad that
I'm going to hold you accountable.
Okay, you do that, and you make sure, and maybe Pamela can hold me accountable. Check in on me every so often to see what you're doing, because I'm 64 years old. Yes, I'm
young.
64.
64 years
young.
young.
I'm 64 years young. Today I felt really young too, because the kids were good. But anyhow, I'm 64 years young. We have our moments. We have our days, you know, with kids. But I'm ready. I'm ready to do for me, to get this weight off, to feel better, not only emotionally, spiritually, physically, and really watch what I'm putting in my mouth, not just the emotional eating. I mean, I've gotten over the fact that my son lives in LA.
And he's happy, and you're happy
I'm
for
happy,
him.
he's happy. He's getting married in August. Donnie, if you see me, you and Anna, I hope you guys are having a great day. I know it's early where you are. It's probably dinner time for them because they're 3 hours.
So is that also a goal, to get some of the weight off before the wedding?
Yes.
Yes, I thought so.
I'm going to get weight off before the wedding. We're only going to be out there a few days, but it'll be good.
Right.
I'm looking forward to it. I want to feel better. And I think that's why people go to coaches and go see people like Pamela, because you get to the point where you want to feel better. you don't want to eat something and get indigestion and wake
Yeah.
up in the middle of the
Yeah.
night with indigestion.
True. Yeah.
That burning in
Yeah.
your chest and everything. And I know how to get rid of it, but I don't want it anymore.
No.
And my goal is to not have that anymore.
Yeah.
And my goal is to be able to, I always use a dessert plate when I eat. A small plate. We eat off of square plates. We do. We eat off of square plates.
Those are nice. I like
Yeah.
them.
When we got married, we had a square wedding cake. Because he said, oh, I always like, we had a square wedding cake. He says, I like square meals, 3 square meals. So we had a square wedding cake, you know. But I have square plates now because I can put something in each corner.
Ah.
When you have a round plate, you don't have corners.
Yeah.
You can create a triangle.
Well, you can, but that's a visual thing.
Yeah.
It's
you
more
know.
like this.
I'd rather have the 4 corners
Yeah.
when I could just put something at each
Yeah.
corner,
Okay.
you know, and then put like my protein in the center.
It looks pretty then too.
It does.
Yeah.
My plates are the color of our teal. That's the color of my plates, and I love them.
I was looking at your book there too.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about this book. I just got this book. This is by, he's a friend of mine. His name is Dove Barron. Can you zoom in on this, Michael? Dove Barron is a friend of mine on Facebook. He's from Canada. He's a friend of mine on Twitter. He does some wonderful videos, live videos, if you get a chance to look at his live videos. And he's written this book. He's written several books, and he writes for Entrepreneur and Inc. I mean, he's very well known in the business world. And anyhow, I've known Dove for, I don't know, a year or two. And he wrote this book called Fiercely Loyal. And it talks about being so loyal to the people that you work with and how you can keep the people that you work with as employees or employers, and how you can sustain your relationships with other people. And it is a great book. I just got it today in the mail, and I've started reading it, but it's so effective to help people who are working, to help people who are helping other people. I just can't wait to get into it, so I'll be talking more about this book.
Okay, cool.
And if you get a chance, go to his Facebook page. It's Dove, Dovbaron. He's always has wonderful videos on there. They're live, and it's normally when he's in Vancouver and he's by the waterfront or something. Yeah, it's amazing, and he really I mean, the videos are extemporaneous, and they can be long, like 45 minutes or so. But he gives such great insight and such great tips on how to maneuver through life. So
And Dove with no E?
no E, D-O-V. Yep. And it talks about how high performing companies develop and retain their top talent. And I want to retain my top talent. So
that's good, not just for corporations, but for entrepreneurs and
it's for
business like us as well.
entrepreneurs, it's for business people, it's for femtrepreneurs like ourselves. I consider us a femtrepreneur. And I know it's going to help when Judy and I are working on our retreat.
Absolutely.
The one thing I love about Judy, we laugh all the time. And I know with friendship, laughter is what you need with friends. And it keeps you happy. You know, it's been known to lower your blood pressure. It's been known to raise your endorphin level. You know, and when you raise your endorphin level by laughing about 10 to 15 minutes, which sometimes Judy and I laugh longer than that, that's like equivalent to about 60 minutes of aerobics exercise. Let me tell you, I'd rather do 15 minutes of laughing than 60 minutes of aerobics exercise. I'd much rather do that.
And even with a relationship, that's a great, with relationship to keep that fun and be happy and laugh or something, you know, whatever that is. I think it's
Just
so
be
important.
silly.
Exactly.
You know, it works your abs when you're laughing. It works your lungs. It gets oxygen into your lungs. It improves your cardiac health.
It made me think about when I attended boarding school, we had this thing that we would lay on the ground all the way down the long driveway, and the first person lay down, the next person put their head on the stomach, and you do it alternating all the way down, then you start the laughter, and it was hysterical. So,
bet.
you know, do that with the kids sometimes, and they'll like that.
I never heard of that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
you know, it was a boarding school. We didn't have a lot of activities, so we had to be creative and come up with things. So that was like our Friday night activity, to lay in the street, lay in the driveway, and laugh for hours.
I love laughter. I love laughter. It's good for the soul. It raises your endorphin levels. It's great for your T cells. It produces a general sense of total well-being. I love laughing. I can't think of anything better than laughing during the day. I try to laugh several times
I
a
can think of
day.
something, but we won't go there.
Well, it's just great for the soul, for your health too. You know, and it helps develop healthy relationships with your friends. Because if you've got friends that don't know how to laugh, you really need to remove yourself from those friends.
Because if you can laugh together, then you can cry together genuinely.
Right, right. And that's being totally truthful with your friends too, which is really important. And staying in communication with your friends. You know, don't drop them like a lead balloon. If you really want to be their friend, stay in communication with them. Because when you stay in communication with them, they know that you care. And caring is so important in friendship. You know, and having a positive energy, doing things that you like to do together, like go to the beach, or laugh, or work on projects, or knit. We got to get together and knit, girl.
I got my needles.
There you go. There you
Got
go.
them. They're in the closet.
Well,
with,
you gotta
with
get
a bag of yarn that I started a project a few years ago.
We call them UFOs.
UFOs?
Unfinished objects.
Okay, like my sewing.
Well, there you go. I got a couple of those too.
Yeah.
I try to knit up my UFOs. I'm working on a couple of them now. So, but anything that you feel comfortable with doing with a friend, going and having coffee or having lunch, or just talking on the phone, or you know, just telling them how much you appreciate them. I'm big at doing that now since I'm 64 years young. You know, I don't have the time that a lot of other people might have. You know, who knows? But we don't know.
No,
we don't know.
You got to live each day.
I live each day
Fully.
as if it's my last. I do.
In appreciation, I think it's a great way to live day by day like that, because otherwise at some point it's like maybe it's too late and you never were able to do any of the things you wished you had, right? So.
Right. I had a friend, and I haven't talked to her in a while, and she called me a couple nights ago, and like I said, I haven't talked to her in a while, and she reached out, and she's an older woman, and I was really kind of surprised, but it made me feel good. Because one of the things she said, I'd love to go out to lunch. I'd love to just touch base with you again. It's like, wow.
That's awesome.
And I thought it was beautiful. It was, and you can have beautiful relationships. You can have healthy, wonderful relationships with your friends, with your siblings, with your spouse, with whomever.
With your children.
With your children, your grandchildren. You have children. You have one?
Yes, one daughter, yes.
And she's how old?
15 and a half.
15 and a half.
A little more.
Good age.
So she's in high school. Where does she go?
Midlothian?
Midlothian.
Yes.
Okay. So in a couple years, she'll be going to college. Then you'll have the empty nest syndrome, which I've been through. You know, I'll tell you, I have found through the years, because I have had to give my kids wings, not just once, but several times. And you'll find you'll have to do that too. But I have found that raising my kids was a whole lot easier than giving them wings. I have found that. And somebody said, well, who made that statement up? I said, I did. And the reason why is because it's so hard sometimes when your children are moving away, or they're going to college, or they're getting a new job, and they're not going to be available all the time. It's so hard to give them wings and say, okay, fly.
Yeah.
Fly. Like when my son Donnie moved 2.5, it's been 3 years now. It's been 3 years. And he said 2 weeks before he was going to LA, he says, Mom, I got a job, I'm moving to LA. Really?
Yeah.
In 2 weeks? Yeah,
That's
in
a
2
shock,
weeks.
big shock wave.
And it was. It was like wham. And that's when I really realized it's like, okay, you have to give them wings. You have to give them wings. And it's so hard. But it can be beautiful because you stay in contact with them. Make sure you stay in contact with your family.
Because this is the thing that you've raised them to do.
Right.
And, when you have the opportunity to see them become the people that you envisioned that they would become, and then they add on to that, so you got to let them do that. For me,
and it's
to
hard.
see them become the adults and to step back and just watch and to be available for advice if they ask for it.
Right.
That was the hard thing for me, was not to say you should do, but to be able to say, may I share something with you from my own experience, as opposed to saying, well, I would do this, or when I was your age, I did such and such.
Well, you know what he said to me? He said, well, Mom, you told me to get a job before I got my master's degree. And he did. And he said, and I did exactly what you told me to do. It's like, okay, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Right.
But it was hard.
It is hard.
It was hard. It really was, because he said, I did exactly what you told me to do.
Yeah.
And it comes back and it gets you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So-
my son's been gone since he was 13 when I enrolled him in boarding school. And I knew at that point that, I didn't want him to go, but my mom had allowed me that experience, and my godmother said, he's not yours, you know, he's a gift to you that you have to let go.
Right.
So now to see him and to share with him yesterday, he said that it was such an important thing for him now to feel that he was good at charting his life, because he had to start so young, experiencing, what it meant to grow up really fast.
Yep.
So I'm proud that, that he had that opportunity, but I kept beating myself up thinking, oh my God, I let my baby go. What did I do?
You gotta let him grow.
Yeah.
You gotta give him wings.
Yeah.
So, you had a question for hashtag Ask Marilyn.
So my hashtag Ask Marilyn is, what would you do differently in your life when it was time for your children to leave you, knowing what you know now?
What would I have done differently? I would have stayed with my practice. That's what I would have done, because I had a thriving practice before I closed it. So that's what I would have done, because I love helping people. I love to help people feel better. I love to enlighten them and tell them about natural products that they can take, and that they can find things in their pantry, in their herb and spice cabinet, and in their kitchen, in the refrigerator, in their freezer, that they can take to make them feel better. They don't have to go out, and it really helps with no side effects. So, because a month ago when we first started the show, I was sick. And I had gotten, remember Josie? And I had gotten sick, and I was down for the count for 3 days. And it was difficult. But I took my homeopathic remedies. I took my apple cider vinegar, which was my lifesaver. I took colloidal silver. I mean, there was a lot of different things that I took, just to make sure, to cover all my bases. I love to show people how they can cover all their bases just taking natural things. And that's probably what I would have done. So that's a good question. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I hope you all have a lovely, lovely weekend. My weekend is going to be starting tomorrow morning. I'm doing the marathon with the Grand Boys until Saturday. It's my daughter's anniversary. Happy anniversary. Tiffany and Steve, they'll be married 11 years, and they're going to a concert or something. So my gift to them is watching the boys. Oh, and the dog. I got the dog too. So I'm excited about it. And then on Sunday, I'll be doing the vending for the Night of Elegance over at Thrush Avenue. I think that's what it is. Or Thrush Lane. So that's where I'll be.
I'm going to miss that, but I'm excited. I do a monthly event, which is where I had you as my guest speaker It's called Our Party with a Purpose with my sole purpose, Longevity Business. And this Sunday, we're going to be doing healthy teas.
Healthy teas.
Every first Sunday at Artwork Studio, 310 Hall Street, we have our Party with a Purpose from 3 to 4:30, 3:30 to 5.
3:30 to 5.
3:30 to 5.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's in Manchester.
In the Manchester district. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Yeah.
converted warehouse, now art studios. So, everyone have a great weekend.
Yes, you all have a great weekend.
great-
And
Yes.
remember, thank you, Pamela, so much for being
you.
with
Thank
us.
Thank you. Have a
And
great
get our
weekend.
cups.
Pamela,
And
we do this thing with our cups. And we'll
you've
toast.
got this. We do a toast and change your life today.
Yes.
Have a great weekend.
Love yourself.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.